Vibe one time for your mind. Vibe one time for your mind. Vibe one time for your mind.
Yo, we are here. We are here with an early edition of Niners at Night with my boy Jessie Naylor. And I'm going to tell you right now, the name of the show is called Dead Period. But lo and behold, we got a little bit of news, Jess. We got some news. And my boy is on location. What's up, Jess? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Yeah, it's so funny because obviously we talk about the show early on, come up with topics. We're like, man, it's a dead period. We should talk about what that's like.
Yeah.
And here you are, Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers making news. It's so crazy because you want to avoid having the conversation every single show. But when
Yes.
something new happens every single show, how do you
Right.
avoid having the conversation?
You can't avoid it, man. You cannot avoid it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have been talking about not wanting to talk about Brandon Aiyuk for the past week and a half. And I don't want to step on your toes because I know you just gave me clarity on what this potential new news means for us.
Yep.
But let's just get to it right now. It was reported by Adam Schefter that in the middle of a dead period, the 49ers disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk is meeting today with the 49ers, as ESPN's Ryan Clark reported on NFL Live. And what's crazy is that usually when you hear things from Adam Schefter, you kind of take it as the horse's mouth, and that's exactly what I did. But I didn't take the extra step, which you did, which is to go actually figure out what the Ryan Clark report was, and it was a little bit more contextualized than Brendan Aiyuk just wants to have a meeting with the Niners. And to be honest with you, I just a little bit out right there is that the way I saw this, and I'm pretty sure some other people saw this initially, was the Niners summoned this meeting. This was or at the very least, this is a mutual conversation that they're trying to have with one another. But I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it away just to give some context on what this all means and how this started.
Yeah, it's interesting because I uploaded a short video before I saw the full report myself. But in that short video, I started talking about like, this isn't necessarily a good thing. The way that I
Right.
see it is there's a possibility he leaves this meeting more disgruntled and does request a trade officially. Like that's a possibility.
Right.
And then I went and read what was actually said by Ryan Clark and saw a little blurb. And essentially what Ryan's saying is, first of all, it sounds like there's going to be a pivot episode coming out with Brandon Aiyuk on. But he said not only did Brandon Aiyuk show up,
Right.
but Jaden Daniels was right behind him. He was right there with them. So we know that they're really good friends, but how many times do you have to talk about how you want to play with a player and be seen with this particular player before it's
Right.
like, hey, this is what I want, more than even getting a deal done with the 49ers. Maybe he wants to play with Jaden Daniels, but really the full report is Brandon Aiyuk is taking negotiations very personally. He's the one that requested the meeting. And
Oh my God.
although he wants to be a 49er, he's
Right.
also very willing to go elsewhere if they will trade him and aren't willing to pay him. So that's straight from him to Ryan Clark. We've heard roundabout conversations, and it's funny because, fans love to just crap on people when they have an opinion. And I remember a lot of people had the opinion early in the offseason, like, hey, does he want to get traded? What's going on?
Right.
And his agent came out and just settled it all. Brandon Aiyuk doesn't want to go anywhere. It's going to be fine. Well, here we are, Mr. Agent, and your client is telling other people that I'm willing to play elsewhere. That's straight from his mouth. So how are you going to do damage control now is the question. this isn't really any different than what we saw from Deebo Samuel. I'm not saying that the
Right.
relationship can't be repaired, but
Right.
this is very different hearing directly from Ryan Clark how the whole situation played out and what Brandon Aiyuk is actually wanting versus, hey, he's meeting with the 49ers, because, hey, he's meeting with the 49ers sounds all positive, but it's really not all positive, at least going into these meetings. We'll see how it is as he exit this meeting.
Well, I mean, right now it's just showing more of the same, in my opinion, Jesse. This is personal, and business is personal, and you can see how Brandon has been. I mean, just look at the wording. You know, disgruntled receiver, Brandon Aiyuk. Like it's out there that he's not feeling. He's not feeling the negotiations. He feels disrespected in some ways. And I don't know. Is some of this BA not? Is some of this BA not understanding the song and dance, like the ebb and flow of professional negotiations? You know, is all of this? I just get the impression that either BA really has a gripe, right? Either something happened that's so off the beaten path throughout BA being around for Debo's contracts, BA being around for, you know, Fred Warner's contracts, everybody. I mean, I could go down the line, and these guys talk, right? BA is friends with guys across the league. I'm starting to feel like this isn't just, is BA just completely off the mark, or did the Niners completely just disrespect him in a way that is so different from what has been done with other players that, you know, he's just through? You know, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the beef? What's the beef? I don't get it.
Well, at the very least, we know that he's feeling exactly what Debo felt. Even Debo got up in front of the media a couple weeks ago when they had the mandatory stuff and said, hey, it's hard to not take this personally. You know, this is our craft. This is what we work for. Almost alluding to the fact that BA is taking it personally. He didn't outright say it, but now that we hear BA say it, it's like, oh, that's actually what he was telling us, is that BA is taking this very personally.
Exactly.
But also I took this very personally from his standpoint. So yeah, I don't know what the beef is. Here's what I want to say as well. His agent, we've talked about this early on in the process, how his agent looks at John Lynch like a mentor to him. He had John Lynch in his wedding. They're really good friends. And at that time, I alluded to the fact, not necessarily, I don't know for sure, and I still don't know this, but alluding to the fact that maybe there's a conflict of interest here. And his agent should have BA as the most important interest in this. I mean, that is his agent. But how much is he compromised by John Lynch being somebody he looks up to, somebody who mentored him, somebody who got him into this business, somebody who is in his wedding, somebody he considers a very good friend? How much of this is going to compromise the agent and Brandon Aiyuk and handling the situation the way that he should? I don't know. I'm going to go close the sliding glass door because I hear sirens. So
I know you're good.
Keep going.
You're fine. That's a really good question. I mean, but I don't know. Like, I feel like if that's a question that BA has to even think about, then he should move on from his agent, quite frankly. I mean, if that's something that, honestly, you know, I understand that that's a good angle, but it's like, if I'm BA, number one, it's my business to know that you have that connection, right? They probably already put that out front. And two, if for any reason I feel like your ability to do your job is compromised due to your pre-existing relationships that you've had, like, not only is that ridiculously unprofessional, but, you know, you got to go. I would hope.
Well, the only reason I bring it up, Coach, the only reason I bring it up is because BA is overstepping his agent at this point and saying, I'm meeting with the team. Like, whatever is happening between you and the team, I want to meet with the team. Players don't usually do that. And the fact that he's doing that.
So basically, all right, so let's level set right now. Yeah. Because I feel like this is an onion that's getting peeled, right? This is layers that are getting peeled. So, number one, this this is Broken Arrow then right now. This is Broken Arrow. This is Brandon Aiyuk breaking chain of command, breaking chain of communication, going outside of basically what would be known as the traditional way of correspondence throughout contract negotiations, and going to the Niners and saying that I'm cutting through the red tape. I'm talking to you directly. I'm letting you know exactly what's on my mind. And for that, that's alarming because that would almost shed light to the fact that BA and his agent aren't on the same page, right? Well, I mean, why would, you don't, I understand like doing things for effect is cool. I get that, and when you're young, you're performative, especially with your emotions because they're new, right? All experiences are new and how you respond to them are very dynamic. You got tons of energy and I get all that, but there is a difference between Debo unfollowing the Niners and BA completely saying, all right, I'm stepping outside of my brain trust. I'm going to go talk to the Niners. And in a way, I don't know. Like, I mean, we possibly could be, analyzing this, and this could have been a conversation that BA and his agent have already probably talked about, right? And it's like,
For
hey,
sure.
if and when it gets to that point, brother, it's going to be time for you to just go ahead and deliver this message from the horse's mouth. I get that. But if this is not true, what's kind of alarming to me is the fact that it seems like the reason why you would force that type of correspondence right now is because one, you're trying to beat camp. You want to get in a camp that you on a team that you really want to be at. That's number one. Number two, you're trying to force their hand. All right. Number three, some type of communication is broken down because why can't you have your agent tell them this? Right? Like,
Yeah.
why do you have to go do this? Right. And four, it feels like that there's a split in his camp. There's a split on his representation and what they tell him and how they want that to move. And then his own wishes between his own brain trust, his family, his friends, his former teammates, and all that. And that's kind of chaotic, to be honest with you. To have that line of processing when you're trying to get through stuff like this that's really complicated. I'm gonna be honest with you, just from what we know now, this doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. And again, it's educated speculation. I'm just trying to break down everything all the way through. I talked about this early in the offseason when his agent came out, and I think it was Chase Sr. that he put on blast. He retweeted something that Chase had said and said, oh, everything's fine. You don't know what you're talking about. These are false reports.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great. But the BA saga is continued. And now we know for a fact that BA is the one that reached out for the meeting and he's not happy. This is the reason he's having these conversations and he is trying to figure it out. And yes, to your point, he would do this for a multitude of reasons. One, if he is going to get traded, he certainly wants to be on the new team before camp. Mm-hmm. Two, if he's going to stay, he wants to be on this team in camp, right? He wants to try to win a Super Bowl. He wants to get this done. The other option is that he is kind of done letting his agent negotiate and he's stepping in at this point. Mm-hmm. But we do know at the very least, the factual things are all of this hasn't been a performance to put the light on him. When he posts a TikTok, we're like, okay, is he trolling? What's going on? There's so much speculation. He's not. Whether he's right or wrong, he's very serious about what's going on. He means it all. He does want to meet with the 49ers. He is taking it personally. All of that is now factual. Now, all of this can be for naught. He can easily go in, talk with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. They can come to some sort of agreement. Either the fact that, hey, you know what? Maybe we're not as far apart as we thought. Let's continue to work through this and try to hammer it out and get it done before training camp. Or he can leave completely with a new deal. Maybe they see eye to eye. He understands where they're coming from, vice versa. He leaves with a new deal. That's positive. But what I can say is, at the very least, going into the conversation, it's not as it was initially reported, which would come across as all positive. Like, oh, he's going to go meet with the 49ers and everything's going to be great. We now know for a fact that he's going into this And the reason he's going into this conversation is because he does have a little bit of visceral hate, not hate, I guess, but frustration with the 49ers
There's animosity.
going into. There's definitely animosity.
You feel it. You feel it. That's what's disappointing about this is because you feel the animosity. It's not you feel the stonewalling. There's a lot of like vindictive commentary coming from BA side of things, and I don't know, man. I mean, are we? I feel like if I'm being fair to BA, the Niners don't have to talk.
No,
right? If we're being fair, the Niners don't have to talk. The Niners can just make moves and show BA what they want to do. The Niners can go ask about Justin Jefferson, right? They can go inquire. Like the Niners don't have to get on Twitter. They don't have to do interviews. They can go shop you in the league, right? The Niners don't have to tweet or put out subliminals on their stories. They can offer you $26 million flat out and just say, hey, this is how we feel. So if we're being honest, the biggest thing is, we're hearing from BA, but in some instances, is he just not is this just not him responding? Isn't this just him responding? Like, hey, I'm a part of these Super Bowl teams. I'm a part of these NFC Championship teams. I've been leaned on. I've been depended on, right? And now all of a sudden, I'm supposed to sit back and just be a good soldier. Debo didn't have to watch another receiver get drafted in the first round when he was going to his contract negotiations. Did Christian even have a standoff? All he did was not show up to one OTA. And you know what I mean? Like, so in some instances, I do want to be fair to Brandon. It's just surprising. We saw this, not the money, but the player. We saw this in how BA handled the doghouse situation, where he was very dug in. And I remember telling you this back then. I told you this. I said to you, bro, you know what's dangerous about BA is that he's not impressed by Kyle. Like, BA is not impressed by Kyle, and you can tell. He's not. He looks at him as a coach. Like, you're a coach, bro. You're not my father. You're not my friend. You know what I'm saying? You're not my mentor. You're my head coach. You're my coach, right? And, look at, if you want to talk about like just the man, you got a kid coming from Herm Edwards' program, right? Like, and this isn't Herm Edwards in the NFL. This is Herm Edwards in college. Like, bro, let me tell you something. I have heard some wild stories about Herm Edwards at Arizona State. Like just the fact of what he can get away with now that he's just not on the NFL stage. Like Herm Edwards is like a straight edge, zealot. Like, we know that he's a football purist, and like I said, in certain ways, we've always seen this coming, bro. Like, how do you feel about that? Is this a coming to a head, or is this surprising? Are you surprised by this?
No, I mean, I guess the only surprise is how early it's happening. I would say that's the only surprise. Usually you would think this would happen during training camp. You would still give it the 5 or 6 weeks to play out. But no, I'm not surprised at the overall result. Again, we've talked about how Kyle Shanahan had or has a personal relationship with Debo. And out of his own mouth, when he was asked, are you worried about Debo in that deal? He said, no, I haven't talked to him yet. Basically saying, hey, me and Debo have a relationship. Once I talk to him, this is going to be all good. And it was.
Yeah.
He hasn't said anything like that for Brandon Aiyuk.
He
hasn't said anything like that for Brandon Aiyuk. And it doesn't mean that the relationship is bad or toxic. It's just different. It's not a friendship. It's not, hey, we're super close.
It's player coach.
This is business. It's player coach. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. That's not a knock on anybody, but that's just the reality of the situation. That's where we're at with it. So for him, he just wants to get paid. And I think Callie Young had a great point. He said, in the chat, listen, they both want to get the deal done. Certainly they do. Absolutely. But there is a price that they both want. And if they can't meet at that price, then we're going to have a stalemate. And we're either going to have a player being disgruntled and playing on a fifth-year option, possibly sitting games, or we're going to have a player get traded if they aren't willing to compromise. One or the other, both, somebody's going to have to be willing to move. And, here's the other thing. One thing we do know about negotiations as well, the reason that the agent is usually involved or players have agents is because a lot of this gets very contentious to the point where the team will talk to the agent and tell them a lot of horrible things about their client. Hey,
Right.
your client ain't that good. Your client is a product of the system. Your client was in the doghouse. Really, if he wasn't here with Kyle, he wouldn't look this good. We had to develop him. XYZ. He doesn't do this well. He doesn't do that well. All of that is said in negotiations. Once the player meets with the team, you start to pull down the veil. How do these conversations go? Are they nice conversations? Or are they going to keep it a buck with Brandon Aiyuk and tell him all the things they've been telling his agent, which is you'd think he's taking it personal now. His agent's not running to him and telling him, hey, by the way, they think you suck at this.
Right.
He's not doing any of that. He's just, hey, this is the offer. He's presenting the offer. He's not telling him all the nasty things that the 49ers are going to say in negotiations or the real things that they're going to say about him. Maybe he's going to hear that firsthand and be even more frustrated and be like, listen, I'm not playing. I want to trade. And then it's a public situation. I don't know. There's so many different ways this can go. Hopefully, it just means that a deal's going to get done. This is the final hoop that they've got to jump through and things will be good. I've been adamant the whole time that I believe a deal will get done. I'm still there. But if he leaves this negotiation or this conversation without a deal, it's very possible that this thing could be worse off than what we're entering with. And that can be a little bit alarming as well.
I mean, what's crazy to me, man, is not you think about what's been shed on the situation as of like just, the last couple of hours, basically the last 12 hours. Now you're almost looking at it as like, I always look at contract negotiations as like, you got to watch what you say because you got to stand on everything you say. You know what I mean? Like you can't, the moment you back down on one thing, one overture, one thing you say you want to do, it's all for naught. Your credibility is shot and they know you can be compromised. And in this standpoint, I haven't seen Brandon like relent on anything that he said. And what's worrisome about that is that's why I've been pushing back this entire offseason because I'm like, don't say that. You can't take that back, bro. Like, do not say that. And if BA has got the sand to tell the Niners to flat out trade me, get rid of me, then, man, that opens a whole new ballgame for me. BA's got the sand to say, I'm not playing. I will not play.
I mean, exactly.
And if you think about it, you know what else? This sets a bad precedent. And I'm going to tell you why this sets a bad precedent. Well, no, not why this sets a bad precedent, but why a bad precedent was set when we traded Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Because of public pressure, because it was a big civil war and the fan base presumably was split and Kyle didn't have the glue or didn't have the fortitude to stand in the gap. So they got rid of the kid. And that's what I mean by precedent, because players are kind of, and then you think about it, what's kind of crazy about that is that helped Trey. There were players who were like, bro, you kind of like had a situation, lost, and then actually went to like a requisite franchise, bro. You're kind of goated right now. And if I'm BA and I'm certain players, it's kind of like, all right, they can be had. If shit hits the fan, they can be had. And then another thing, before you say something, before you jump in, bro. I'm sorry, by the way. I clearly cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
But another thing that's wild is that does this does this set a precedent for other players to do the same thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, is BA essentially trying to call the Niners bluff?
Here's what's interesting. I feel like all the players to this point have called the Niners bluff, and eventually the Niners have given in at some point, or at least that's the perception, right?
Right.
Because they always wait. They always wait. And the reason they're waiting is because they're trying to negotiate and they started a low point. But what deal have they really fully won when it comes to average annual value for these guys? Like all of them have gotten essentially what they wanted. They've been the highest paid guy in the market at their position.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just don't know what the gain is from the 49ers side from waiting all the way through. BA just wants to get it done. He's just not with the BS, is the way that I see it. But one thing we know about BA is he's been very clear since the end of the season. I want to be here if it makes sense. His girl comes out and says, hey, we might be here, we might not. And then every turn that we've heard from the BA camp is, yeah, I do want to be there.
Right.
If everything's right, but I'm willing to be traded. Well, then you look at the 49ers side of things, and the 49ers are like, yeah, we want him here, but we're also willing to let him play on his fifth-year option, which is not a conversation that they've had in the past. It's always been, hey, we want this player. We'll get a deal done. We're confident. Hey, these things take time. We want this player. We'll get a deal done. We're confident. This is the first time we're like, hey, by the way, we're good with the fifth-year option. That wasn't said about Bosa. That wasn't said, Debo obviously didn't have that option, but that hasn't been said in the past. Also, when asked about trading BA, it's like, well, we're going to look at all the options. When they were asked about trading Bosa, it's like, nope, absolutely not. Bosa's a part of this franchise.
Almost
There's
like
no
being
chance.
Insulted.
Yeah, that you would even ask.
Yeah.
So it's clear that they don't value BA near the level of a Bosa, which is fine. I mean, you got to kind of draw a line. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But the point is that both sides have been very clear. Yes, we want to come together and we want to get married, but there's got to be a prenup.
Yeah, there's got to be a dowry. Something's got to happen.
One wants a prenup, one doesn't, and that's what we're trying to figure out. And until we can figure that out, I guess we're not getting married. And that's really where we're at. And both sides have drawn that line in the sand, and neither side thus far has wavered. We still have plenty of time. It can still get done, but that's hopefully what, at the very least, both sides will leave this meeting knowing exactly where they stand. That we do know. And maybe they stand with, hey, we're going to work out a deal. But maybe they stand with, you know what, maybe a trade for both sides is the right option. That's a possibility.
All right. Well, I have one more question.
Okay.
About this. Can the Niners as an organization, a coaching staff, and as a team, can they ingest a contract negotiation like this? Right? Debo's contract negotiation was contentious, but it fell on the backdrop of Kyle. Right? Trent, his contract negotiation went down to the bitter end, but Kyle came in the 11th hour and put that fire out, right? Nick already had leverage, hands down, not only because of his cachet, but because of the season he had, quite frankly. He was the defensive player of the year. The Niners knew they had to pay him. There's nothing you could do about that. Nick stayed quiet, right? Same thing with Fred. Down to the bitter end, kept his mouth shut, got his money. My thing is that the Niners don't do publicity. They don't do public. And I know this is the biggest lie of all time. Niners don't leak, but right? But what I do know is that this is a very tribal bunch where they're very much one note. They all have to be on the same page. They all have to feel a certain way about the team. And my question about this is that, also, if you think about it, the coaching staff in the front office, they kind of let their food touch. They're very much in the locker room, and so to speak, right? Like John Lynch is very much like gives pep talks, always giving anecdotal stories about his career to the team. John talks about stuff that he wants to happen with the team that, even at times, if John starts talking about, how things are going on with the team, at times he will slip and get into his own personal opinion about what he thinks from a football perspective with the team, versus where most GMs will kind of not even touch that. They'll leave that to the coach. What I'm saying is that there's a good side to that, because then you can count on your GM to come in and give extra juice on certain parts of the season, or when you're dipping, or you can count on your head coach to be able to cross over the aisle into the financial side of things and be able to lend his hand. And that's all of the good stuff. But what happens when all of the people who have their quote unquote undesignated titles, where I'm the guy who smooths things over, and John's the guy who really is the pros guy, who can really get eye to eye with the guys and let them know how pros are supposed to handle themselves. Well, what happens when everybody's ego is a little bruised when you got BA saying, I don't care about any of you guys. I don't, me and Kyle, we're not friends. That's number one. John, thanks, but Herm Edwards was my coach. I don't need somebody else coming in telling me how to be a pro or what to look at. Like, Debo, thanks. Guys, I love your team, but I got other teammates around the league that I've been cool with. Like, hey, for what it's worth, when I first came into this team at my infancy, I showed what I can do with this team. I was marginalized into a role, and I feel like him being in that doghouse situation put himself in a position where he's like, okay, I'm going to do this, but then I'm going to do it your way. And when it's my time, I'm going to gut you. I'm going to gut you. And I feel like this is almost kind of like a revenge tour. Like, can the Niners ingest a negotiation like this and find a way to get this done? And the locker room is okay. They're like, everybody's fine.
Yeah, I think so. Listen, I think from a player standpoint, they look at it and say, "Get your money. We're out of it." They always stay out of it. It's always player. You go get your money. It's your time. You figure it out. I think from that standpoint, everything will be fine. But it is clear that this one's different. I mean, how many other players have entered their negotiations, not only gone back and forth with the 49ers, had to meet personally with the 49ers, and then also watch their teammates jump the line and get paid? And watch them draft a player at your position. And, so BA's looking at it and saying, okay, so you're willing. I mean, let's just look at it from his standpoint. You're willing to let me play on a 5th-year option. Mm-hmm. You did shop me. You did look into Justin Jefferson. You're not meeting my demands as far as I want. And you drafted 2 potential replacements. You went ahead and made CMC a priority when I've been here for months saying, where's my money?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons for BA to look at it and say, even if I do want to be here and I do love this organization, they're treating me with a shrewd business sense. I have to treat this with a shrewd business sense. And you can understand why he would be taking things personally. The first question you asked me, you were talking about, is this BA not understanding what is happening here? How much of it is that? A lot of it is that. This is his first time negotiating an actual contract. This is his first time going through this process. And it's great to watch your friends go through it, have your teammates say, hey, be calm, sit back, it'll be fine. We went through it. Don't make the same mistakes I did. But until you actually go through it, it's different. It is different. I mean, I don't know how many times I've told my kids, hey, don't do this because of X, Y, Z. They're like, yeah, got it. And then they have to go make their own mistake, do exactly what I told them not to do, figure out that the reason I told them not to do it is exactly why they shouldn't have, but they had to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
I get it. This is BA in his negotiations, taking control of his career, knowing this might be the last time I really get paid in this league. The first time and the last time that I can work out my own deal. I'm taking full control of the situation and I'm putting myself first. It sounds selfish to the fans, I'm sure. A lot of people are like, just take the money. It's life-changing. No, don't just take the money. This is your chance at generational wealth. Do what you need to do, BA. I'm always an advocate for the players. But then on the flip side, I'm an advocate for the organization as far as
I'm listening to you, Jess.
don't pay if you don't feel like it's worth it. Don't.
Bro,
I want BA to get his money, but maybe get it somewhere else. That might be the way this has to work out.
$26 million is still generational changing money, bro.
Listen, man, if you feel like you're worth something, then go get what you think you're worth.
That's why I think this is personal, because somebody's not moving.
Let me ask you this, Coach.
Somebody's not moving, Jesse.
I'm gonna ask you something.
Okay.
When you were 18, 20 years old, did you have a dollar amount in mind of what you thought would be enough money to live on year to year?
Yes.
Okay. Has that changed as you've gotten older?
Yes.
Okay. Has that dollar amount gone up or down?
Up.
Way up, right?
Way up, yeah.
And if you were to leave your job today, would you hit the open market and be fine with taking a back step or staying even, or would you look to go up from here?
You always got to look to go up every time you're in transition.
Okay, so BA is no different. I mean, that's exactly where we're at. BA is looking at it saying, hey, I'm seeing what my peers are getting paid. I know what I'm worth. This is what I want. And it doesn't matter. Yes, it's to us, it's life-changing money, but I also can guarantee you however much he's already made to us is a lot of money. But if we were in these negotiations, we would be wanting more money too. It's you always want more. You're always looking for the next pivot. And if 18-year-old Jesse was looking at the money that 40-year-old Jesse is making, he would be in shock at how much he's pulling down. But you know what? 40-year-old Jesse wants more than what he makes now. I always want more.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And that's the way that this works.
I hear that, and I'll raise you this. The market is juxtaposed on a raw list of players and what they get. All right. Now, what these players get is how the market is set up, right? So you have a list of players that are attached to certain teams, and the market isn't necessarily set on utilization. The market isn't set on numbers. The market is set on what teams have to pay at the time versus what that player means to that team, right? So there's no such thing as Justin Jefferson going into the Vikings and saying, hey, man, these are my numbers. And because I literally hit this amount of yards and this amount of touchdowns and I have this amount of yak, right? There's some type of rubric that we can put this into that spits out why I deserve this number. That's not the way contracts work. The way they work, and forgive me for talking like as if you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I got you.
but I just wanted to check myself. But really, the reason why these guys are getting the money that they're getting is that because it's the context of what this player means to the organization. And that's what gets lost. Is Justin Jefferson's getting paid $34 million is not just because he's one of the best receivers in the league. It's because he's the best player on his team. Okay. And it's not close. All right. And he's a leader on his team. And he's on a team that doesn't have an entrenched starter at quarterback. And on top of it, he's on a team that just lost. Is Jess still here? Hold on. We got to see what happened to Jesse. And he's on top of a team that just lost their quarterback and Kirk Cousins, a veteran player. So you have to ask yourself, man, like, what is exactly the market when you can look at certain guys and say, all right, well, I deserve a certain amount of money based on what Justin Jefferson got or based on what this player got. And as we can keep going lower, right? As we can keep going lower into the situation, then, oh, now all of a sudden, this is where I lie. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? The money that these guys get off rip is because of the context and what they mean to their team. So now all of a sudden, we can't use context when it's time for BA to get paid, right? All of a sudden, everything gets binary, right? I feel like it's just being a dishonest broker, honestly, right? Everything becomes binary when it's time for BA to get paid. We don't want to use context, but it's like, wait a minute, the market was started on context. There's no way that you could black and white prove why Justin Jefferson deserves that money. You cannot, right? The only way that you can quantify why he deserves that money is because you do a qualitative analysis, right? There's a quantitative analysis and a qualitative analysis. A quantitative analysis is based off the numbers and the sums of the situation that give you actual facts, raw numbers. But then there's a quantitative analysis where you have to look at the quantity of exactly, I mix that up. Qualitative is quality, quantitative is quantity. Quantity is the numbers that give the situation. Qualitative is the quality, the context, what it means, what the actual worth is. And that's the part of the assessment that BA wants to stay away from. He wants to quantitate, oh, well, Justin Jefferson got paid this money, right? AJ Brown got paid this money. Devontae Smith got paid this money. But that's the quantitative analysis, BA. And you want to stay with the numbers because you don't want to get to the qualitative analysis. What is your quality to this team? What is the actual context where we can bear out how you get paid? And I think he's missing that. I really do.
See, but I don't think that he necessarily is. I think that both things can be true. And this is what I've been trying to convey to you on the shows that we've done. And I feel like I haven't done a good job at it. And I'm going to take another stab here. I feel like both things can be true at the same time. I think BA can be right. And I think the 49ers can be right. I think BA is absolutely right in the fact that he is worth the $30 million or whatever I'm sure he's requesting. It's not, I highly doubt that BA is so naive that he's asking for Justin Jefferson money, right? I think he knows exactly where he stands, and I'm sure his agent would keep him grounded in that. Hey, listen, we're not going to get that anywhere else. Just like a real estate agent always is there to set you straight. Hey, I know that you want $500,000 for your house. It's worth $450. We'll start at $470 and we'll go down to $450 or $440 or whatever. But I'm not, as your real estate agent, listing it at $500 is only going to make you frustrated. Your house isn't worth that, right? So I think BA is smart enough to know exactly what his worth would be on the open market, and he's probably right about that. On the flip side, the 49ers don't have to pay that just because that's the going rate. Doesn't mean that they're willing to pay that. If I am in the market for that house and they've got it listed at a fair price of $450 and I know that's what it's worth, doesn't mean it's a house that I want. It doesn't mean that it has all the things that I'm looking for. It doesn't mean it fits my family needs. And so that's where the 49ers and BA are at. They both have a number in mind. They're both technically right, but that's where the impasse is because both want to get the deal that they want and they don't want to budge and give a little bit of leeway. At least at this point, it seems like they don't want to give the leeway that the other side also does deserve and know that they're right on too. So I think both things can be true, and that's just where we're at, and that's why we're at a bit of an impasse here.
I think what's surprising about this mostly is that even though both sides have a gripe, we've gone over both of them exhaustively, but I think what's surprising about this is that I don't see the relationship. It's like where is, like, all right, you said, like, it's almost kind of like, you're arguing, me and you have argued, and it's just like after you get all of your fuck yous out of the way, it's like you still got to come to the middle and say, look, man, all right, well, this is how I feel, right? I'm willing to come off this. This isn't that important to me. These are my main chief concerns. What's important to you guys? Like, why? Let's talk turkey. Like, what is your chief concern as to why you believe in this number, right? And I can tell you exactly why I believe in this number. And hopefully that conversation is happening. I don't believe that conversation is happening today because that's a conversation for your agent, quite frankly.
Yeah, and Gammon, I see what you're saying. You're like, hey, what's the positive takeaway? I think I at least tried to give it earlier, and the fact that the positive takeaway is that this is them just removing all the barriers. having the conversation, and the hopes are that they either come to an agreement at the end of this, or they at least come to an understanding that they're closer than what they thought they were, and and they're going to continue to both work towards coming to an agreement, and at the very least, BA would leave it and say, "Hey, I know what's taking so long. I understand it. This isn't personal. We're both going to work towards it. We have some things to iron out, but a deal's going to get done, and I feel good about it. I can chill a little bit." But the flip side of that is it could end very poorly, and he could end leaving with, "Get me out of here. I don't want to be here. I'm not playing on your 5th year option. By the way, I will sit. Try me. Get a deal done. This is what I'm wanting. I'm not willing to budge. And by the way, sitting in your lobby is my homie Jaden Daniels. That's my first request. Try to get me over to Washington. I'll see you when I see you." You know what I mean? Like, that's a possibility too. So,
I mean, having BA right around the corner for me would not be bad. I'd catch a lot of games.
yeah.
I mean,
like, could I like
I just feel bad,
picture this,
bro.
Coach.
I do,
Coach,
man.
Picture this. Could the way that we know that him and Jaden Daniels are tight, and we know that he showed up to the pivot with Jaden Daniels in hand, could you just picture this for a second? BA goes up to the offices. He's having his conversation. Could you see a scenario where like Jaden Daniels is down in the lobby, like waiting on his friend to have these conversations? I could.
Yeah.
Like he showed up to Levi with BA and it's like, "All right, man, I'll chill in the lobby. I'll see you in a few hours, man. Good luck." I could genuinely see that. It's like, "Yeah, by the way, Jaden's in the lobby. I want to play with him. We're out." Okay.
I mean, so look, this is the thing, right? And hold on. And like brother Bob is so tight right now. And I love
brother Bob's so far behind. I don't even know what part he's frustrated with.
He says
he's
so
like 30
bad.
minutes behind.
I love it. But like,
because he's just like, "Pay BA at all costs. Yeah, he's worth it. You pay him $30 million, and that's that. That's that." Brother Bob's stance is, you pay no matter what. There is no black and white. BA's worth it.
And I don't agree with that shit at all, bro.
Now, I agree to a certain extent. I think he's worth it. That's what I agree with. But I also could see the 49ers side of things.
Yeah, like the thing about it is that, I mean, this is what makes me nervous. And like 187 has been my op for like so long. He's my guy, but he's my op. We love to hate each other. He's my guy. And I agree with this 100%, man. Is that what'd you say?
Your frenemies? Yeah,
it's my frenemy, dog. Like one of the things that makes me nervous about this is that what is there for BA to say face to face if it's not negative news? Right? What is BA here to say? You know what? Hey guys, my agent's full of shit. I actually do want the 26 million. Let's have a conversation. Like, no, he's about to go in there to say, "Look, my last buffer that knew you guys, that could actually speak your language, my language to you guys, I'm taking him out of the equation right now. I'm coming over here to let you know from my mouth, hey, you deserve to know this." That's what I agree with this. You deserve to know this. So
yeah, I mean, that's going to come out. Like, one thing we know for sure is going to be said from BA is, I want to be here. You know what my number is, and if you're not willing to meet it, I'm also willing to go elsewhere. I don't necessarily look at, and I would guarantee that that's conversations going to be had. But I don't look at that as an impossible barrier to work through. I think there is a part of him that definitely wants to be here. No, not necessarily. But I think there's a part of him that wants to be here, and he wants to hear it from the 49ers mouth too. Like, are you really, truly willing to let me play on a 5th year option? Is that what you're saying? If I don't budge, are you willing to let me? Like, I think he wants to hear it all. I think he wants to hear it from the horse's mouth, and he wants to deliver it from the horse's mouth. I think that
ship is sell, bro.
Yeah.
I think that ship is sell. You think about it, man. Like, do you honestly want me to play on a 5th year option? It's like, did you not see us try to go get Justin Jefferson? Did you not see us draft Ricky Pearsall and Isaac Cowing? For good measure, while you were tripping and while for good measure, while you were tripping and acting like you wanted to talk to everybody on social media, we signed CMC, made him the highest paid running back in the NFL. We signed him. That's what we did. Wake up, Brandon. Like, I'm telling you, bruh. Like,
Brandon's like,
yeah,
that you, God?
I'm telling you, man. I really believe that the Niners have been, like I said earlier in the show, there is an instance of this where it seems like BA is talking, but really he's just replying. You know, like the Niners have already made themselves clear on how they feel. They're not going to be deterred by this. Look, who is his name? Is Isaac Cowing?
It's Jacob Cowing. I think you got Isaac Guerendo and Jacob Cowing.
Isaac Guerendo, yeah.
And you just made your own player. It's fine. It's a creative player.
Yeah. Look, man,
Isaac Cowing is a creative player on Madden.
But
99
Jacob
overall
Cowing,
receiver.
Jacob Cowing, hold on. Let me see what Brother Bob said. So, okay, but the Niners sent the private jet.
Okay.
So?
Yeah, did he not
How many Ubers you sent out? And so you care about all the joints you sent Ubers to? You wild. You wild, but the Niners sent the jet. You talking about, that's their school bus. That's their corporate bus. Like, what you talking about? Hey, we can see. Hey, we just got to get caught. We just got to get Rob flued out. If you fly Rob out, anything can happen from Rob. He said, but they got the jet. Yo, I don't see it, man. I think we may be in like the coming days. I mean, but we also said this earlier on. This is kind of good news in a sense. This is a silver lining. Think about it this way, Jesse. We're going to know exactly where we stand. We're not going to go through like a whole season saga. Like, that's not going to be a thing, right? Like, that's something that's going to be able to be bared out. I love that. And also, if you think about it, the Niners have to sign BA before the trade deadline anyway, because they're not going to let him play on a 5th-year deal. And even if they franchise him, he's going to be pissed. He's not going to want to be here at all playing on a franchise deal. So really, the window is from now until the start of the season. That's it. So
yeah, if he plays,
I mean, is BA at this stage of the game? Is BA going to start camp?
I mean, I don't think a deal is done by day one at training camp. No, I still think a deal gets done before week 1 and he'll be there. But I don't. If week 1 comes around and a deal's not done, and let's just say a 5th-year option is ultimately what the 49ers land on. They're done negotiating. The season's starting. It is what it is. You can sit out your games. We'll see you come week 11, and we're good to go. Like, we'll see you in the playoffs, whatever. At that point, you're almost guaranteeing that the next year he'll be franchise tagged and he'll be traded 100%. Like that, the ship has sailed at that point. So we'll see. I mean, you are right. We will know exactly where they both stand at the end of this thing. We'll know in the next 48 hours exactly how that meeting went. Either a new deal's in hand and we're all happy about it. They both left on a handshake and they're going to continue to work, or BA has left that meeting and requested a trade. Like, we're going to know exactly where it stands. It's either going to be in a better spot or in the same spot. And if it's in the same spot, that means it's not good. It's not good because he's there to try to rectify and get through this situation. And if he's unable to make any moves or push through a little bit, then that means things didn't go very well. So,
yeah, I mean, at this stage, bro, all is not lost. You know, we could come out on the other side of this and they may have found solid ground.
Yeah.
You know, that's always a possibility. It just doesn't look good. The fact that he's kind of like usurping that. This is another question that I saw earlier. Are we sure that BA's agent isn't going to go with him? Is he going to be there?
He definitely could be. We don't know the logistics, but what we do know is that he wants to be there face to face, regardless of whether his agent's there or not. Again, the agent stuff was pure speculation. But it was me circling back to some of the speculation that I had when I found out that the agent was so close to John Lynch. It's like,
John Lynch. Yeah.
is that really the agent you want in these negotiations? Nothing
I don't
against the
know,
agent,
but
but
that's the
I
thing.
wouldn't
If
want
you think
that.
about it, that's why I feel like this kind of like hits different because you know, John and Herm Edwards have a very good relationship with one another. And BA was actually kind of like a handpicked guy where John was like enthralled with getting him, and they had already been looking at BA years prior, and Kyle loved BA. And they do a lot to kind of like put their name on guys, right? When Niners just don't draft a guy, they love a guy, right? And they always have these huge stories. You know what I'm saying? Like John is always going in where it's just like,
when I was looking at the film and I saw the way he looked at the games, and he was a gold star guy for us for like 3 years. He was awesome.
and like John does all of this stuff, and I feel like BA is kind of like breaking ranks, right? In a sense where even think about it. It's like, hey, John knows you. We've been looking at the guy. Kyle loves you. We love your coach. We have like backdoor ties that way. Hey, and then you know what? You're a kid that was a JUCO kid. That's another thing. BA didn't have a lot of cachet, right? He got put on, right? He's a JUCO kid. It's like, you're a JUCO kid. You came here. We kind of held you down as far as making sure that nobody really knows about you. We curated this. On top of it, just for shits and gigs, we're gonna get you set up with some representation that is ingratiated with the damn GM of the team. Okay, and this is gonna be smooth sailing. And you know what else is gonna happen? Right when you get to a position where you're about to get paid, all of that curating, all of that nurturing, all of that infrastructure that we've put around you is going to pay off when we tell you that we're going to pay you $26 million. And I think that BA may be a broken native, man. He may be a broken native. He may be a guy that got institutionalized in a certain way into like his pro career. And now that he's finally at the table, he took the red pill. And he's like, nope. All of the pats on the head, all of the dog houses, all of the, my head coach, my agent knows you, you guys have made your way. You guys have carefully woven yourself into the fabric of my career. And I'm not going to come in with a scalpel and try to like remove you intricately. No. I'm going to lop off my arm with an axe. And I'm going to say, I don't care. Pay me my money. Pay me my money. Yeah, I don't care that you know my head coach, John. I don't care that my agent knows you. Pay me my money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's, I saw that 187 said he saw on Twitter that his agent's there. I'm sure that he is. I doubt that he's going into the meeting without his agent, but at this point, you're still skipping ranks. Especially this early into things, where you're still 6 weeks out from training camp or whatever. Like this isn't normal. And you said that too, 187. I want to give you credit. This is not normal. This is not normal at all. This is not the way negotiations are normally done. Now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a bad thing. But it does mean that at least entering this conversation, we know where BA's stance is. The reason the meeting is happening is because he requested it and he's taking things personally. Those are factual. That we do know. Doesn't mean that things don't get ironed out. Doesn't mean they can't get ironed out. Also, what's factual is these meetings at this time where the player goes in, because it's not like he goes in with his agent. His agent's like, hey, let me do the talking. You sit back. It's like, nah, bro, I'm the boss. You work for me, Mr. Agent. I want to hear from them directly. What is the deal? Why can't we get this done? The last offer I had from my agent is this. I'm coming back at this and the offer continues to stay the same, is this really it? And if so, you need to hear from me. This is where I stand. So we'll see. I again, very adamant the deal's going to get done. I haven't changed my stance on that all season or all off season. I said he wouldn't. I didn't believe he would get traded. I believe a deal would get done. I'm not changing any of that, but this is not normal. That is factual. This is not how normal negotiations take place.
I agree 100%. Well, Jess, we said we needed 3. We did it with
We needed
1.
1.
Hey, brother, you out here, man. How's everything going on your side, bro? How's everything out there in the West?
Hey, man, it's nice. I was telling you, Oregon this time of year, this is the best time of year to be out here. This is the worst time of year to be in Florida because it's the rainy, hot season. So I've got 3 weeks out on the West Coast, back in my stomping grounds and enjoying the weather, enjoying family. It's nice to get recentered because what is coming, Coach, is we've got training camp soon, 5 or so weeks, 6 or so weeks. And once that starts, it's over. The grind is full bore. So taking some time back, being with family, kind of just getting recentered and enjoying life. That's what it's all about. So it's the calm before the storm. And I'm happy to be here, man.
Hey, man, look, bro, always a pleasure. Same thing over here, man. We got to get ready. Me and you will be out at camp this year, coming up in a month. We will be out there for a week. We'll be able to lay our eyes on the boys and really give our opinion on how things are going. You got anything coming up this week?
Well, normally I would go on Tuesday, but it sounds like Sunil's a no-go tomorrow. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I know next week's going to be really light for me because I'm going to be traveling with the family. So we'll see. I mean, if there's stuff to talk about, then sure, but I'm not going to just go live to go live. I'll put out mini videos here and there. But to go live, you want to have some good things to talk about. So if there's some good things to talk about, then we'll go live. If not, I'll just make short videos and upload that content.
100%, man. And the same thing over here, bro. Like, we got some shows coming up. Me and Grant are coming up on Thursday. Me and Tom are on Wednesday. Then we have me and Larry on Saturday, and also my call-in shows that I've been doing every Saturday. The call-in shows have been going lit, bro. You've been helping me out, bro. You've been really keeping the comment section on point, son, with my call-in shows, man. Yo, so look, moving on from my guy right now. This is the coach, man. This was a great show, guys. Stay low and keep your feet moving. Have a good one, guys.
Just vibe one time for your mind.